Ho, 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 friends. Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to the Odd Thoughts Podcast. At the Odd Thoughts Podcast, we like to talk about the everyday odd thoughts, have conversations on relatable topics, and discuss whatever comes to mind. My name is Gunther, and I am your very merry host. Welcome to the Christmas episode, episode 38 of the podcast. For this episode, I wanted to start off by talking about kind of the history of Christmas, kind of seeing the evolution of the Christmas celebration, the general celebration of winter, and kind of see how it's kind of popularized today. Then I wanted to transition into talking a little bit about family time, about spending time with family, having a certain quality time with family. Next, I transitioned into talking about gift giving or giving gifts. There's a little bit of a pressure sometimes, not just around Christmas, but a little pressure in giving gifts. And I think it's sometimes hard to pick the perfect representation. Then I kind of, I ended it after that, but I did kind of give a little bit of a sentiment in my outro, or at least I'm going to try to do it. But if you want to listen to any of these topics, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Please enjoy. Merry Christmas, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope that everything is set up for Christmas. I hope everybody's got their, present spot, their, foods get, you got everything bought for your food for Christmas. I hope that all the invitations are set out, and I hope that your Christmas is the best day ever. But yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Well, we are, a day away. It's not Christmas officially. Hopefully, maybe you missed listen to us on Christmas, but nonetheless, Merry Christmas. As we kind of come upon the day, I hope that we all have a pretty unbelievable day. I hope all your family shows up and you get to have the most beautiful time with them. I hope all the things on your wish list get checked off and you get fulfilled with your presents. I hope you get to enjoy all the delicious treats and like beautiful warm food and drinks that put you into a food coma at the end of the day. At the end of the day, sorry, I'm laughing at myself. Whatever the day offers, I only wish it to be fantastic. I want everybody to remember to not take it for granted though. Christmas seems like a particular beacon for this type of, festivities and the celebration, this cheeriness to happen, but you should always enjoy life. Even though we're surrounded by maybe a mundane existence in our day-to-day lives. It offers that nice break. Christmas definitely offers that nice break. It allows you to see what good lasts, like oh, hold on. Yeah, it allows you to see what good comes from life, sorry. But as we know, family comes and goes and things don't last and there's a seriousness I think we need to take when it comes to cherishing these moments as they come. Or whenever there is a time to appreciate life aspects, I think you need to cherish that. As I am, and I know as a lot of people are, we feel a little extra thankful on Christmas as like I said, as I hope most people do. We must remain thankful for the opportunities to share with loved ones and thankful for the opportunities in life. Thankful for the items that we receive and just thankful for all the indulgences that we can enjoy. Christmas really, I think, brings in that kind of enjoyment, but you could take every day to enjoy life. And like I said, it doesn't have to just be Christmas. But Christmas is perfect for it. Christmas is the time for cheer. So, Merry Christmas. Like I said, I can't stop saying it. Merry Christmas. I hope everybody has a good day. I'm recording it the day before. This is Christmas Eve. And I'm excited. I'm hopped up. I just like I'm hoping I hope I get a couple things. Like if I can get a hoodie, maybe a new pair of pajama pants, some socks, and some good food, and just have fun with my family. Like and get to see my niece and nephew open up presents, which is gonna be. I love seeing kids open up presents. You know what I'm saying? I live sometimes vicariously through people. Sometimes, like I kind of enjoy living through other people's experiences. So if I see a kid, the kids pop open the presents and they get excited about their stuff, then that's awesome. But also like we're trying our best to represent like Christmas in a different way at my household. It's a family time. It's just about spending time with family and a couple gifts is nice, but it's just about hanging out, interacting with each other and That's something I'm always very thankful for. And I hope everybody else is very thankful for that. I know I'm not going to get anything super extreme for Christmas. I mean, I didn't really ask for anything. I don't really need much in my life, and if I do need things, I hope to buy it myself and pay for it myself, acquire it my own way. I don't. It's hard, getting handouts, but tis the Christmas season, so handouts are kind of it's part of the gift giving thing. It's whatever, right? I'm gonna be thankful for whatever I get. And I hope that everybody has people to spend Christmas with. I really do. And if you don't, then I hope that this episode is your family. I hope to be kind of like family for you guys. I do. I've always wanted to be, just like a comfortable voice, inside your head type thing. Just a warming presence that you can always rely on. I like that. I have my own family that I love and they love me, but I don't mind being an extended family member to some of y'all. So, however we're spending Christmas, however, people, it's all different for everybody. However people are spending Christmas, I hope it's a good day. I truly do. I can't really think of much else to like say, like I know that in the outro I'm gonna try to give a little bit more of a sentiment. I might get a little emotional, so it's gonna be hard to talk. I'm just a sappy. I'm just whatever. Yada yada. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop into episode 38. We are coming up quick on Christmas Day. It's tomorrow to be exact. Hopefully, most people will spend it with family or spend it however you want to spend it. Maybe even we get a couple gifts that you've really been wanting, or you just enjoy an endless amount of like decorated treats, chocolate. That's one of my favorite things. However you choose to spend Christmas, I hope it is everything that you could want it to be. Christmas is celebrated very differently by people, and maybe based off of where you live or what country you came from or where your family came from, the traditions may look a lot different, maybe different than how other people do it. Christmas has evolved over time and has given into the ideas of making it kind of your own, at least in America. But Christmas wasn't always popular necessarily, or really even resembled the way that we celebrate it today. Celebrations around wintertime, around like the winter solstice, have always taken place through many different cultures, but it doesn't look like how we do Christmas now. Christmas does look different all over the world, but it's something that a lot of people love to celebrate and have chosen to celebrate for many, many years. And I thought it was kind of fun to maybe I try to do my best. There's a lot of information on the internet that you can find in articles and whatever else. But I would look up mostly history.com. It feels like that's like a lot of like the best information about anything historical. But I looked up, I wanted to get into the history of Christmas, just I kind of thought it was fun to see how it kind of evolved over time. But like I said, like the middle of winter celebrations have always kind of been around. Winter solstice is on December 21st, and usually like hundreds of years ago, before Christmas was like a thing, when cultures would celebrate around that winter solstice, it was usually kind of like a way of signifying the worst part of the winter over type thing, or you know what I'm saying? It's like, they kind of it's getting towards the end of December and it's like the perfect time to celebrate where, you know, that you don't have to feed the animals for the winter so they like slaughter them, and it's like the alcohol that they've been fermenting is finally done fermenting, and like I said, it feels like the worst part of the year is over with. Like everything you kind of worked for has kind of accumulated to this time. So, celebration around winter has always been a thing. Scandinavia, Norse celebrated the Norse they celebrated like Yule, which was something kind of like it was more of an extended celebration, but it started from December 21st, which is the winter solstice, through January. I didn't read like I guess like just into January, but usually that involved Scandinavian fathers and sons bringing home like logs. They would go cut logs down. That's some Scandinavian stuff. And then they would burn those logs for like sometimes it would last like 12 days, maybe less. I don't think it would ever last like more necessarily, but they would just like, they would feast and they would celebrate, and each like spark represented like a new pig or a new calf that would be born in the next year. Just just whatever they made up, that kind of their own traditions, you know what I'm saying? So that was like that's an extended thing, Christmas, we only do it one day, we do it on the 25th. If you do maybe do Christmas Eve as well, or maybe you're someone who does like the 25 days of Christmas type thing, and once December hits, you're all in type thing. But that was an extended celebration. That was kind of like I think the time that like it became more of a tradition. um, Germans honored the pagan god Odin during the midwinter holidays. That was something like a very pagan thing, right? And it was one of those. It's so funny. German. I always say this about Germans that everything their like fairy tales, their folklore, their celebrations are all like scary or fear based. So they honored the pagan god Odin during the midwinter holiday, but it was because it was more they were terrified of Odin. They believed Odin would like fly around and like find out who perished or prospered type thing. Kind of what Santa Claus would become. But it's just like Germans always have to do something like that. They always have to have the most terrifying example of something. And yeah, just to think about a big like pagan god flying over, dude. And so people would stay inside thinking that Odin would actually be flying over their houses. That is scary. I mean, I'd be scared, 100%. And then apparently like in Rome they celebrated something called Saturnalia, which is kind of it was like a it's honoring Saturn, which is Saturn is the god of agriculture. And their celebration in Rome, Saturnalia, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, started a week before the solstice and just went through the month basically. So like the 14th through December or whatever. And it was seen, as a very hedonistic time. It was like, getting drunk as hell, eating as much food, doing other things, you know what I'm saying? And then like enslaved people were free for the day and they were treated as like equals in society, which that's a beautiful thing. So everybody was like free to celebrate this thing and that's a couple weeks celebration from the week before the winter solstice through December. That's a pretty hefty celebration. They also had something called Juvenalia. It sounds so weird to say these, but that was around the solstice time as well. But that was a feast honoring the children of Rome. That was kind of like something that was like just honoring the kids type thing, which is cool. Which is kind of like Christmas has become kind of a kid-ish holiday. So it's kind of cool to think about that. Kind of see where that came from. Also, apparently, a lot of upper class citizens in Rome celebrated the birthday of Mithra, which is the god of Christianity. Oh no, sorry, whoops, god of the unconquerable sun. I skipped the line. Sorry, god of the unconquerable sun, and that was on December 25th, and that apparently that was seen as like a super sacred day. So I think that's kind of like when Romans eventually came into Christianity, when Christianity came into Rome, the 25th stood out because that was what a lot of people, the upper class people, seen as like a sacred day. I'm sorry, I skipped that line. It's the god of the unconquerable sun. That's who Mithra is. But then eventually like early Christianity, it feels like that's when things started taking over. But their main holiday was Easter. That's kind of always been the like, especially with Jesus and stuff like that. That was always the main celebrated day. And they never celebrated like Jesus's birth. They, his resurrection or whatever, but never his birth, like his actual birth. So I saw like around the 4th century is when it was decided to be made like a holiday or whatever. There's no evidence of Jesus' birth. I think like definitively. I've heard like springtime or something like that, but I don't know necessarily. I'm not a super religious person, but Pope Julius the First chose December 25th because it seemed like I think like I said because of the Roman like that because they thought that was such a sacred day, and it felt like that was a good middle of the winter solstice type thing. And like it was they were trying to absorb, like I said, Christianity was trying to absorb certain like Roman things like Saturnalia. They like that kind of festivities, having a lot of drinks and food, and maybe not all the craziness that Romans were kind of into, but like still that kind of jubilee celebration. You know what I'm saying? And it also like hopes of the popularity of the winter solstice would increase like the Christmas embrace. Like because of how popular the winter solstice was, that more people would just embrace the Christmas thing. So they put it, at that time, hoping that it would be so popular because people were already that festive around that time. And I think that's pretty cool. In really, they couldn't control how people were going to celebrate it, but it was kind of the idea of like just having this kind of feast. And even like originally it was called the Feast of Nativity or something like that, right? I think it was like that's kind of was the first, like they kind of just called it that. And I like that. Like I said, it wasn't about presents yet and stuff. Like it was just hanging out with people, enjoying each other's time, eating food and drinking. Like that's kind of a good thing. That sounds like a party. It's what a lot of people still do. But eventually customs would spread through like Egypt and then England, and then like yeah, it's just kind of cool. And the Middle Ages is, I think, was like when you saw the paganism to Christianity. So a lot of countries that were not necessarily Christian countries that adopted the Christianity thing eventually adopted like what would eventually become Christmas, the Feast of Nativity type thing. And I guess like at the time when originally it kind of resembled what Mardi Gras. I was reading something that it kind of just resembled like what Mardi Gras looks like today. Like I said, it's just like a all out party. And eventually it became like a tradition that beggars or like students would be, one of them would be crowned as like the Lord of Misrule, which is something like that happens during Mardi Gras. Someone's king, like the king of whatever. I'm sorry, I don't know Mardi Gras that well. But and then people would, just like, people would act as their subjects. People would like play into it, and then like people would go to like houses of the rich and ask for like food and drinks, or like treats or something like that. And if the rich didn't feed into it, the mischief would ensue. There'd be pranks and whatever else, just a lot of havoc. It felt like. But I was reading something that a lot of people a lot of rich people at that time, a lot of the upper class people, viewed it as like kind of this like unsaid, paying back to the poor people of society, this imaginary debt or whatever they had, how they believed, they said they felt it was the best time to do it or whatever. And I guess that's okay, being prosperous. You should be prosperous at all times, but a lot of people felt like at that time it was most like, most evident or whatever. And then I was reading a little further, and I kind of jumping around a little bit, but in like the early 17th century, apparently Christmas was tried to be canceled. There was like a call for like religious reform around that time, like, and so it changed Christmas in general. And Oliver Cromwell and the Puritan forces took over England in like, it was like what, yeah, 1645. And it's basically like, and they had some sort of reform. They wanted to rid of decadence, which is like a declining society. So they wanted to bring everybody back up thing. But it didn't last very long. Charles II took the throne and then restored the holiday immediately after. He was like, "This is kind of bull. Like, people like Christmas. This is something we look forward to at the end of the year. Get out of here, it's Oliver." But I wish I would have paid attention to how many years. It literally was not that long. It was like a few years. But then Christmas, when it comes to Christmas in America, specifically like pilgrims, the Puritan, kind of the Orthodox Puritans that came around like the early 1600s to 1620 or whatever. They started to kind of bring in things. They had those, like I said, Puritan views, and they were like more orthodox, so they weren't like super hardcore or whatever. But it never was like a true like set in stone, like Americans took to it right off the bat, or it was taken to in America. And apparently in Boston from 1659 to 1681, it was banned. Christmas was just banned. So I don't think a lot of people were like into it at first. But Jamestown, for instance, was open to the celebration. So in Jamestown, you could go and hang out and do the celebration of Christmas, But I think around like because of the American Revolution, it was harder to adapt to like it was harder to adapt because of the rejected British ideals, and because like Christmas was kind of coming over from England and from Europe and kind of that area. I think a lot of Americans were just very like, no, no, don't, we don't want this kind of thing. And Christmas wasn't even a federal holiday until June 26th, 1870. So that's when they finally announced that December 25th, Christmas is finally like a recognized holiday. So that's like that's kind of crazy. For a couple hundred years there, it was like it was some people did it, some people didn't, and it kind of well that was kind of maybe the sentiment that was shared, overseas in Europe and through history. It wasn't a popular thing to everybody, but it did start to spread. And I think in what kind of from what I was reading, it feels like Americans are really responsible for the at least in like well, I guess I'm an American, so I only think of American like Christmas an American way, but reinvented kind of Christmas in their own way. And a lot of the things that are now popular in Christmas, like a lot of the traditions, came from America, like came from a lot of like the early Americans, like starting to celebrate Christmas. It's when you started seeing like I said, it used to be celebrated like Mardi Gras. It was kind of this raucous carnival, this like super chaotic thing, but it was happiness and it was celebration. But then it kind of transformed into a family friendly day. And then it started to kind of widely spread, be accepted around like I said, the 19th century in general. Yeah, 19th century in general. 1870 was when it was officially a holiday. But like it was I don't know. I think I was reading that kind of why it became really popular is that 1800s America was kind of filled with like a lot of turmoil and like unemployment was kind of high and there was like a certain rioting amongst like lower classes that would sometimes happen around Christmas and it always feels like some people would be so celebratory but a lot of people were down on their luck and they didn't feel as included or whatever. So in New York, in like 1828, they implemented like a police force to respond to the riots, and it kind of allowed this shift of ideas that there was a little more policing, which not I mean like you don't want to ruin people's celebrations, but when it was becoming hectic and it was causing harm onto people, it was needed. But it started to kind of shift that thing, kind of started to shift the ideas. In 1819, Washington Irving wrote this sketchbook of Jeffrey Canyon, and that specifically in that he had wrote a couple famous like stories, short stories, The Sleepy Hollow, Rip Van Winkle. Those are like famous stories or whatever. But he wrote in that same one, I think it was the night before Christmas or whatever, and that's what kind of started to change like the ideas and in general I think that the book had a bunch of different like Christmas stories and stuff like short stories about Christmas, and a lot of it was like there was depicted like family friendly. It was people getting together and having like this genuine family time, and it was peaceful and warm hearted and like one of the stories, you like the upper class people bring in like the poorer people, and like and it's a pleasant dinner. It's not like they don't get along. Everyone gets along, and so that was kind of a contrast to how things actually were. And I think and that was really what Irving Washington apparently or Washington Irving, sorry, believed is he believed that it was supposed to be a warm-hearted, peaceful thing, and that was a lot of people's I think changing mindset to around that time. And that people and I think that was one of the things that really became like the definitive version or kind of like that's what people started seeing Christmas as. And then a Christmas Carol written by Charles Dickens around that time too, kind of like it was the same thing. It was this at first it was this kind of cold-hearted person, right, the Scrooge, and then he kind of opens up to the real meaning of Christmas. And so that around that time, like, not only was it like a changing mentality in Americans in general, but it was also like, literature was, resembling that. And yeah, I think that's how culture goes is like a lot of things like are resembled in through art and writings and traditions and stuff like that based on people's mindset changes. But like, yeah, in early 1800s in general, apparently there was like also kind of a shift in valuing children's emotions a little bit more in just humanity in general, which I guess I never really thought about that. I always kind of, we know, kids are, you protect children, you're supposed to be loving towards kids, and apparently it wasn't always like that. People were loving, but it wasn't like they care necessarily about emotions, I guess. But I guess there was like an increase in family sensitivity around that early 1800s. So Christmas is a way to it was a way to kind of start to show children appreciation, and so that was when the shift of a Christmas started to kind of come in, and it was more present and it was more like lighthearted, and it wasn't about getting like drunk and like like eating all this food. It was kind of like, oh, giving your kids gifts and giving them treats and we decorate the house to make it look like a winter wonderland type thing. And I kind of love that. It's kind of like they would start to unearth some old traditions. I don't know what old traditions, but spin a lot of their own into it as well, and that's pretty cool. I think I think like I said, I'm an American, so I only know Christmas through Americans' eyes. But it feels like that became a lot of popularity around the world, and people who don't necessarily believe, or like around the world where Christmas isn't strictly a part of Christianity, right? Where you're just kind of celebrating the holiday. It kind of looks like the more Americanized version where it's like, buying presents, decorating your house, kind of filling creating the Christmas Wonderland type vibe. But I thought that was kind of a cool history. And like I said, it was a little sporadic. I'm sorry, but still a lot there. And then yeah, so it's the origins of Santa Claus. That's one more thing I wanted to say. So apparently Santa Claus, I didn't know this. I've never, maybe I did at one time. I just never really thought about it. But apparently there was a Turkish monk named Saint Nicholas, born around 280 AD or whatever, and he gave away his inheritance to travel the countryside, kind of like healing the poor and the sick, helping out the poor and the sick. And he was eventually seen as like the protector of children and sailors, I guess. But that's kind of the tradition of like giving to others, giving away to others, which is kind of, gift giving is only a portion of Christmas, but that's Santa Claus gives you presents, and Saint Nicholas was this Turkish monk who was giving away things, helping others. And it entered American popular culture around the late 18th century because New York specifically was a pretty heavily Dutch place. It used to be called New Amsterdam, actually, funny enough. But it was a lot of Dutch families. And so they would honor around like Christmas time, they would honor the death of St. Nicholas or Sinterklaas, as some people would say. And so that was kind of a cool thing. I think it started just to kind of bleed into traditions as a lot of like some foreigners started moving over, and through a couple hundred years, these traditions, not only in Christmas but in just society in general, started coming in. So that's kind of funny to think. And like apparently it was like Dutch. Like New York was pretty Dutch. It's pretty funny. I never think about it like that. I just think of like I think of Italian or like Jewish when it comes to New York. I don't think of Dutch. But and okay, so and earlier I said that Washington Irving wrote "It Was the Night Before Christmas," but he didn't. That's my fault. 1822, Clement Clark Moore wrote it was originally called "A Visit from Saint Nicholas," but then eventually "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." But that was the first time that Santa was depicted as like a jolly man who flies around in a sled, who has like the red stuff on the beard, rosy cheeks. That was the first time that we got the Santa Claus that we're depicted as, not this Turkish monk who, a little dark skin, maybe a robe. I don't know. I looked at some pictures, but obviously they're just drawings, they're not or paintings. They're not actual photographs. But yeah, 1822, Clement Clark Moore, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." That's the jolly Santa that we know today. That delivers toys on a sled driven by reindeers type thing. And Thomas Nast was the one that drew the Santa Claus for Clement Clark Moore. And it's become the iconic version of Santa Claus. It literally is, I think, when in America at least, when we think of Santa Claus, we think of the big dude in a red suit with a beard, with the hat, rosy cheeks, Rudolph and his, Dancer, Prancer, Blitzen, Donner, and, yeah, sorry. But it's kind of amazing to think about the evolution of this kind of winter celebration leading into what is now known as Christmas. And it's gone from, paganistic maybe thing where it was just kind of the celebration of the winter solstice to, with Christianity being introduced and intermingling of cultures and traditions, eventually things kind of become your own thing. And, Europe did their own, like they had their own traditions. And eventually when it came to America was very anti-British and anti kind of Europe in the early inception of America. But over the span of a couple hundred years, it felt like eventually it became a thing. And when you look at Christmas now, it's like insane. And people are so involved with it. And, it's not insane in a bad way. It's, people love to go into it. And I've talked about in the last couple episodes some stuff about Christmas, and people really feed into Christmas time. And however you choose to celebrate it, whether you want to be around family, you want to be by yourself, you don't really care for Christmas or whatever, it's whatever. That's I think the beautiful thing is like Christmas has become kind of a celebration of your own way type thing. There's things that are cliche to Christmas, but Christmas in general can be celebrated however you want it to be. Hopefully, we all have good relationships with our families. Maybe not everyone in our family, but hopefully a few members in which you feel most connected to. When we have people we care about, we want to do our best to show how much we love them. You might tell them or give them a gift to kind of represent love or whatever, but I think one of the most effective ways and one of the most true ways to stay connected with family is to try to spend time with them. Having family time allotted to spend that kind of quality time with each other, it offers a very personable representation of love, more than just saying it or just giving someone a gift or whatever. When you take the time to be around family and it reveals this dynamic of being, that near each other, shows that in no other way. Sorry, a little fumble. It can help bring family a little closer. It brings a different dynamic. Even when you feel forced to spend time sometimes, make it actually quality interactions. Don't let it pressure you to stop family. When you feel forced, don't let the pressure, stop you from feeling like it's quality interactions, like it's quality time. I think I think it's important to spend quality time with family. It's important to connect with loved ones, even though, sometimes admittedly, right, like we're not always going to be close to every single family member that we are, or you may love a certain, portion of your family, but you're not necessarily super close to them. It's nice to cherish family. I mean, it's a big thing to cherish family, especially when you have at least a few members that you have a certain closeness to. And I mean, I don't think it should really ever matter, how your closeness. I think there should always be a little love, even when it's not reciprocated sometimes. I'm always kind of big on trying to iterate that like a lot of things, a lot of human, things you do, like a lot of things you do as a human, a lot of feelings and a lot of interactions to be very like innate and you shouldn't expect it back. And so even if you're not super close to some family members and, not all relationships look the same, right? So even when you don't have maybe a super close love for a certain family member or you guys just hate each other or something like that, you gotta there's some sort of cherishment you need to have and some sort of love, even though it's hard, even though maybe it's like I said, maybe it's not on you, and very much so it's on this other family member, ruining that kind of relationship. But at the end of the day, love is like it's some not a guaranteed thing. So you want love back, but you got to be so willing to give that love and stuff like that. And how do you spend time with family? I think like there's no perfect way, right? There's no perfect way to spend like, going to someone's house. That's always like kind of a good way, but people are at work and people have other things to do and running errands. So that's hard to do sometimes just showing up at people's houses and but it's doing things like, going out to dinner, right? Just like, allotting a day or two every month or whatever just to like hang out and go to dinner or go out and hang out with each other. I think even just that is like a good way to spend time with family. But the whole spending time with family is that you need to be like with them. You need to have the interactions with them. Because like, if being around family, it's you can be around people and it could be a good quality time because you just love your family and you just love to be in their presence. But I think the quality really comes from the interactions. Truly, understanding each other's presence and understanding how you feel about each other in through those interactions. And like, how often is it's not, any time can be seen as quality, right? So how often doesn't really matter necessarily. If you can do it more often, then try to do it more often. If you don't have a lot of time, then just pick your battles and try to do it as much as you can. There's no perfect time. I mean, like especially like some families are just close and it feels like they're always spending time together, and I think that's okay too. I mean, like it's if and then there's a lot of families that just aren't that close and they just don't spend time, but doesn't mean they don't love each other, right? Love doesn't necessarily equate in how much time you spend. I think I said it's an important way to show love. I think it's a very effective way, but it's not the one way. And sometimes even when you're not around people, you still talk to them, right? I talk to my sisters even when I'm not hanging out with them all the time, right? but I still talk to them. I play games with my little sister all the time, so we're on the phone, every few days, and then I obviously during Christmas I'll see her, and probably around New Year's I'll see her, and around all these other times I'll see her and my older sister too. So you know, even talking is okay, but what only matters is you're connecting with family. That's kind of the whole thing is making connections and interacting. That's a big thing is spending in I think the best way, like I said, I'm just gonna say that the best way to do it is actually spending time with them. And like I said, there's so many different ways. I find like it's kind of hard for me in a way that I don't know what's perfect. So I just want to try to show my love as best as possible. So I get kind of paralyzed in the choice of like, well, how do I do that? I tell them I love them. That's a little hard to do because words just can be whatever. You know, I can buy them things, but that only goes so far, right? So, hanging out with them is cool. That's always the best way. I can talk to them and I can show them that, I appreciate their presence. I can tell them that. And I think when you actually see someone's dynamic towards you, when you see how they interact with you and their body language and how their face lights up or whatever type or the other way, it dims down. But you can really see when you're spending that quality time. And there's no perfect way to connect necessarily. It's just like it's just no perfect way. I think so many people are different. Some people are more talkative and some people just like the presence of others and some people don't like to like they're just too busy to spend time. So, just having a conversation every once in a while is nice and so there's no perfect way. I don't think there's a perfect way to connect. It's just how you are as a person. It's how much of yourself you can give and what you're most comfortable with. And sometimes your family just isn't like a certain type of family. A certain like your family may not be super lovey dovey, right? But like I said, you still love each other, and maybe you guys are super close. But it's still kind of it just feels like that's what family is to you guys is closeness. But you don't always get along necessarily. It's important to love family, but obviously family's just going to look different for everybody. And do you just I think always remember to try to have time to relate and have time to talk to each other and keep in touch. When as you get a little older, life kind of takes over in so many different ways, right? Where, you know, you kind of, you got a job or you got your own family and so you don't get to talk to your siblings or your parents or your cousins or whatever as much as as much as you used to. But maybe I think in everybody's best interest and to kind of have that openness to relate and talk to your family. And I think even family is a loose term and like not who you're born with, but sometimes like extended family, right? Like friends. Like a lot of people consider their friends their family, right? So spending time with them peoples, that's your family, right? So it's however you get that kind of like interaction. It's so beneficial, I think, two ways. I think it's important to feel loved, right? It's important to see the love and feel a little appreciation and especially when it's around people that you like appreciate and love, right? Then it feels most warming. It feels most like worthy. You feel like that's who matters most when they say they love you and when they say that they, all these good things about you, then it matters most as well as the bad maybe, quality time could sometimes lead to some bad negative things, but quality however you want, good quality, bad quality. It's however you want. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to focus on the good quality time. But inevitably there's people who are not close, right? They don't get along and maybe they don't want to get along with each other and I think when you try to tell someone that when you try to tell that person that doesn't have a closeness to their family like you need to cherish your family, you need to spend time. Doesn't feel very right. It doesn't feel like you're really you could say the sentiment, but when they don't have love with their family and because the family doesn't love them back or yada yada this XYZ, it's hard to kind of force that. I think like I said, sometimes it's hard to force like you want to cherish family. The whole point is having families, you want to feel loved and there should be this innate love with family. But that's not realistic all the time, right? Just as like people in everyday life, that are not your family, you're not going to get along with everybody. So that's just a human aspect. So you're not always going to get along with your family or certain family members, right? But if you do have a few, then I think it's good to cherish those, right? Maybe you got that one sibling or your parents still love you or your grandparents still mess with you, right? I think it's okay then to really feed into that. It's a big step to want to connect with people, right? To spend time. with like I said, other life factors stand in the way. It's hard to allot time. So just taking that one step into having the idea of like I should get together with my family and maybe I should go over to someone's house and bring, yada yada over and yada yada over. They haven't seen each other in a while. That's a pretty big step to do. That's a hard thing to do. And like, when it's family, it should feel easy, right? Because it's people you love and care about, yada yada yada. But people have their time spent differently. They have their times changed too, right? So, as you may have free time this one time, maybe in a couple months, it's just not like that. And you can always like chalk up like, especially we're coming around Christmas, right? So, Christmas times feels like that's the most like this is when it's a family centric time. So take advantage of those times when it's like holidays, when everybody's going to be in one place together. Why not take advantage of that? Why not then make that like the time to interact and have this kind of really special quality time? Even though that shouldn't be like the one time you have quality time. It's not just around holidays where you have quality family time. But it's like I said, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to kind of sacrifice like this a little bit of free time that you have, and even when it is your family, and you should love your family, especially when they love you back. It's hard. Like life just kind of does its thing, and like so not everything's gonna be perfect. It's just I don't know. I love my family. We're close in a way that we're not super lovey dovey on each other, and we don't insert each other's in our life, insert each other's into each other's lives. You know what I'm saying? But we have this care for each other, and we kind of just it's like when we hear about each other doing something like good, and it's like good for you. It's not like an overly oh wow type thing. It's like oh good. I knew they could do it like type thing. So I appreciate that kind of family, and I'm blessed to have a good family. And my family's funny in the way that we have like just extended people that have been around in our family for years. Vanessa, who's like been a friend of my dad's for 20 years or something like that. It's like 15 or something like 20 or something. It's around that time. It's been a long time. Even to like like Cheryl, who's been a friend of my family since like the 80s or something like that. It's like so there's people who are just extended, and or my older sister's a friend Kat, like another sister to me basically. So there's just I have extended family, and I think like I said, staying connected with loved ones it's such an important thing. And obviously, I know that the dynamics in different families are going to be different. I can't sit here and say that you must do it, but it's good to have that family time, and it's good to stay connected with loved ones and just try as best as you can. I think literally the whole thing is that if you have a little bit of time that you're willing to give away, that you're willing to spend with other people, then do it. And whenever, they can reach out as well, right? So that's a big thing to remember is like, even when even if you feel guilty that you're not reaching out to others, they can reach out to you as well. Don't feel so guilty then. People, it's a two-way, phones are two-way, you know what I'm saying? So don't blame yourself if you can. I think the big thing to remember, especially with family time, is that no matter how much of that time it is, or how often it is, or how many of the family members it is, make it as quality as possible. You know, show your love through how you interact with people, show that you care, and it doesn't don't be fake about it. Like, if someone in your family's not doing okay, like be open about it. And if it's like a self-destructive thing, be honest about it. Quality maybe I'm loosely on the quality thing. I try to think about the good quality time, but quality time maybe just the having importance and having a certain like not necessarily goals, because you don't want to like get you don't want to view family time as something to get out of, right? But you know that you're going to get something out of it. You want to be able to get something out of it. So like I said, I think it's important to spend family time, no matter if it's Christmas, whatever holiday it is. I think connecting with loved ones is very important. There is a weird pressure that comes along with giving gifts to someone, or gift giving in general. You want to do your best to get something that kind of represents how you feel about whoever, right? That you want to get the most suitable representation. But you shouldn't feel prompted to have to give a gift. But when you decide to buy a present, you want to do the best to choose something suitable. I think it's important to have the right intentions behind giving a gift, right? It doesn't have to be the perfect gift, but as long as the intentions are right. And like I said, as long as you put genuine thought into that gift, then just know that people are going to react how they're going to react. You can't expect much when you're giving a gift away. You can't just expect a certain emotion or something back necessarily. Once you relinquish that object to someone else, just have that little bit of that relief that at least there's some assurance in the gesture is enough, that at least you gave some thought, that you cared about someone, and you just wanted to get them a good gift to show that you love them, show that you care or whatever. And just like I said, once it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. But there is like a weird, like I said, it's maybe not just around Christmas. I think Christmas is particularly, it's a little stressful because it seems like it's like the gift giving season, but there's pressure behind giving a gift for sure. Doing your best to pick out the best present. You just want to. There's so much pressure in just giving someone the most suitable of your representation of how you feel. And there's, like I said, I don't think there's really ever a perfect way. You just want to try to give the most genuine thought as possible, as long as the intentions are right. That's always how it is. I've been big on, like, over the years. I've always kind of thought about, even in my own receiving gifts, that the thought is what matters. The fact that even someone thought about me to get me a present and give me something is, to me, is just, I'm just super thankful for, right? So I think I just try to think of it the same way. It's like some people are they're gonna react how they're gonna react. Some people aren't as grateful and thankful or in ways, but I try to hold on to the thing that is, it's all that matters is that I wanted to do this thing, and I just have the certain intention of just wanting to give someone something nice, and because I love them and because I care about them, or they asked for it, and it's just like, as long as you have that, like I said, genuine thought, a genuine intention, you gotta, and there's a willingness to give something away, right? You kind of have to open yourself up to a willingness in first way, you know? Some people I think are very gift oriented people. I know a lot of people who that's like their love language is buying people gifts or receiving gifts. But for some people, they have a little bit of that stress, a little bit of the pressure, is like I'm talking about. So there's a willingness that I'm not always there for. Not because, like, I don't want to buy people things and I don't think people deserve things, which is not true. I think everybody deserves a little something. Everybody deserves a little treat, a little something cool. So, but I just want to be. I want to do the best I can when I'm buying a gift. I want to do the best representation, like, of this person, like what they need in life, what would help them the most, or what would show the best of my, like, love for them. You got to have a willingness. You got to open it up a little bit. Excuse me, sorry. And like I said, with Christmas, there's a big time stress a little bit. And it feels like a lot of those, like, gift oriented holidays a little bit, where it's like birthdays even. That's where the pressures are, like, maximalized. Maybe, when it's just like an every or Valentine's Day, that's a pretty big time. Like, you kind of have that stress. But I think most of the times, like, if you're just given a gift, I think you kind of just let it be. It's There's not a lot of pressure when it's just an average Tuesday, and you're just given a gift because you thought someone would want it, or you saw it and it's like, oh, I love this. This would be great for this person, or I know this person would love this. But definitely, I feel the stress around Christmas. I feel the stress around birthdays. But it's I think, like I said, it's the intentions, right? And at the end of the day, depending on what type of gift too, right? There can be, you kind of have, some people go personal with things, and it's something that represents the person they're giving the gift to, or giving a gift that represents themselves, right? Or maybe you're someone who just does, like, practical things. You like to buy, like, cooking for people, or someone needed, like, they wanted this book, so you buy them a book, or like, you know, I don't know, buy oil change, right? Thought about this one year. I remember, like, a few Christmas ago, I was having trouble with a car, and, like, I was like, man, I just love, like, a whole, like, just a new engine for Christmas, dude. Like, things like that. I'm not gonna get a new engine for Christmas, but practical gifts. So there are so many different types of situations and, like, different types of gifts, right? And I think, like, when you're doing a personal gift, there's a little more pressure, right? Because, like, you want it to best represent that person or best represent you. It's a little practical, there's maybe some sort of pressure in the sense of, like, I think you take a little more literal with a practical gift, that, like, because someone wants this thing and needs this thing, you're willing to get it. So there's not a lot of thought to that. If someone asks for a toaster for Christmas, you buy them a toaster. It doesn't have to. It's a good toaster. Buy them a good one. It doesn't be the best toaster, a personalized toaster. It's a good one. or if you're someone who likes the funny gifts. Yeah, I talked about in one of my last or few previous episodes, not my last one, but my previous episodes, getting a T-shirt for Christmas that was like a crop top T-shirt. That stuff's fun. You ain't gonna have any stress with the funny gifts. That stuff's just fun. But there is a factor I think even in more so just in like a pressure of things. It's like how well do you know someone? Like, are you good friends with them? Are you close family members? You're married to them? Is it your kid? Or is it like a at work Secret Santa thing, right? The more you love someone, the more you care about someone, the closer you are to someone, there probably will be a little bit of a heavier like weight on you when it comes to trying to get something good, trying to get a good intention present. But I think if it's someone that you not in the way of like not care about, but like you're not super close, you don't know them that well, then I don't think there's a lot of stress. Like I said, with the Secret Santa things at work or whatever, the white elephants or whatever, they don't matter. Like, get them something cool, like something that they definitely could use or they'll definitely enjoy in the time. And as long as they, they don't have like an allergy to a certain treat or they don't have like five of this certain thing already, then you're good. And also like there's obviously like I said, as long as as long as you know what intention you have to give someone a gift, as long as you're trying to express a certain feeling and a certain relationship relativity, right? Just out of like a good, it's just general expression of kindness, right? It's like, what are you trying to do with the gift? And not only if you're close to someone or not, but like, what are you trying to do with the gift? Are you trying to show that you love them and you care about them? And so this gift is going to perfectly resemble that, or is it just because someone asked for something, so you're just trying to fulfill that ask? You know what I'm saying? I think there's so many different types. Like I love thinking about like in my own way, I don't mind those like like funner gifts, like like a a video game or something like that, or you know. But I like that's the one thing I could think of. But I like practical gifts or like things that I know I'm gonna use in an everyday sense. Like give me shampoo and deodorant, dude. Ah. Or give me a hoodie. I'll that's perfect Christmas gift for me. You know what I'm saying? That's all I really need, I think. So, yeah. But I think that's I think I'm always a practical type dude. I don't really care. Like I said, it's always I'm just happy to get a gift. If anybody thought about me, I'm just happy for that. And I've always told that like you should be thankful for things, right? You should be thankful for when people give you stuff, but also if it's just like random and you didn't ask for it, then maybe you don't feel as thankful. But I think you should still be thankful because Lord knows, people aren't as thankful. I think when you're given a gift, you don't you shouldn't expect a thankfulness, right? People should be, like I said, they should be thankful of gifts, but once you kind of relinquish that gift and it's out of your hands, you shouldn't expect someone to be so, oh my God, thank you, thank you. If you give a gift to someone and they throw it away in the trash right after that, that's an unfortunate thing and that's going to hurt and that's going to sting, but you relinquish the right to that gift in a way. You can go grab it out the trash and use it for yourself, I guess, but you relinquish the ownership. You took that chance to give someone something and it may not play out perfectly and it may not be something that someone wants or they weren't they didn't really need or expect it or you just kind of did that out of nowhere. So when someone's not thankful for it, don't hate on it. Like I said, you're given a gift expecting nothing. You're just doing it because you want to show a little kindness or a little love or you heard someone needed something, so you're going to give it to them. You can't expect people to do like they're gonna react how they want to. So, do your best to choose a gift. That's the main sentiment here. It's all about a little bit of genuine thought. You love someone, you care about someone, or someone has been asking they need something and you're just willing to get it. I think just doing your best to choose a gift. Like I said, once you get it, give it away. Just let yourself feel that relief. You gave it to them. You've had this intention behind it. You're sure that you're trying to show a certain gesture, and you had that certain intention. Just be assured that you know that you're given a gift, and that's it. You're just expressing how you feel, and don't expect it back. Be thankful when you do get a gift back, and just let I just think it's funny to think about there's a pressure behind gift giving. Maybe because Christmas I think it's more pressure. Like I said, Christmas is a little more chaotic with the gift giving, but there is pressure behind giving a gift. But whatever you do, as long as you have that genuine thought behind a gift, any gift is perfect for someone. Alrighty, friends, that's almost all I have to say about that. We're almost, I know that I'm in the outro, but kind of want to do something a little different for the outro, at least for the beginning of the outro. I like, tomorrow's Christmas, and I know that hopefully everybody's going to do at least a little something for Christmas, I hope. But I just want to take a second to say Merry Christmas. Truly say Merry Christmas to everyone. I know I said it in the intro, at least I think I said it in the intro. But I just want to say from my bottom of my heart, I've been very appreciative of all the support that I've gotten on the podcast this past year, or not the whole year. I guess I've only done it since around my birthday, I guess August. But I'm very thankful for everybody in this world, and whether not only the people that interact with the podcast, but people in general. And I think right now there's a lot of hecticness with people, and not everything's going to go good in people's lives, and the next day doesn't know it's not always certain for a lot of people, right? And if you're not going to hear it from someone ever or today or tomorrow, I'm going to say it and say that I'm happy you're around. I love you guys. Merry Christmas 100%. Whether you get a gift or not, whether you have family to spend it with or not, listen, I'll be your family, you know what I'm saying? Let me be your family. Let this, basic podcast be my best representation of a gift of love to you guys, okay? Like I said, let me be the one family member. Let me be your brother. Let me be your uncle. Let me be your cousin. Let me be your son. You might not have those people in life, and even if you do have those people in life, maybe you allow me to be an extended part of that family. Like I said, I love you guys. I love everybody in the world, and we're not all perfect. We're all doing it just as best as we can, right? But nonetheless, Merry Christmas to everybody. That's a wrap up on episode 38. I won't go too much longer. If you want to listen to this episode or any of my other episodes or any future episodes I do, I make sure to always upload them on YouTube or Spotify under the Odd Thoughts podcast. If you enjoy any episode or find anything I say relatable, then I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the podcast or follow me on Spotify, subscribed on YouTube. You can also follow me on a few different social medias. I have an Instagram, I also have Facebook, and I also have a Twitter. I'll make sure to link all those in the description below underneath the video, as well as try to leave them linked in my like bios and like my channel description and whatnot. But yeah, um, like I said, Merry Christmas, everyone, and I hope that you make the day as best of what you can out of it. And it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else's, and it doesn't have to be perfect. But nonetheless, I love y'all. Merry Christmas. Make sure to show up for yourselves every single day and be excellent to each other.